Comanche leader was left for dead unaware, but a little girl climbed to save him. Cold hills watched the land like quiet sentinels. The sky was ash-gray, the wind hollow. No footsteps dared disturb the silence. Not anymore. The sun hadn't risen fully yet. Just a faint bruise of light across the horizon. Dawn came slow here, on the edge of forgotten land. Red earth, cracked bones, and ghost trees leaning like old men. He lay there, half buried beneath pine needles and blood, breathing, but barely. The Comanche leader, once feared, once honored, was now a heap of man and memory. His name had power once. Now, even the wind didn't whisper it. A wolf had sniffed near his legs at midnight. A vulture circled hours earlier. He had been left for dead, by those he once called brothers. His chest rose in tiny jerks, as if the earth was unsure whether to let him go or keep him. One eye swollen shut. The other stared up at nothing, at the branches above, dancing without rhythm. A thread of blood slid from his lip. Flies hovered. Nothing else moved. Until a small crunch. Not thunder. Not hoof. Bare feet. On leaves. From behind a thicket, a girl emerged. No more than 7. Dirt on her chin, hair like tangled river grass, eyes too big for her face. A rabbit hung limp in her hand. Her breath came fast, but she didn't speak. She saw him. The heap. The man. The war chief broken like a dying tree. Her tiny fingers curled tighter around the rabbit. She took one step closer. The man flinched. Not in fear. Instinct. She didn't run. Instead she crouched, eyes level with his torn face. They stared. Not a word. Just breathing. His shallow. Hers. Nervous. Then, gently, she tore her own ragged shawl and pressed it to the bleeding wound on his side. Not expertly. Not knowing if it would help. Just doing what felt right. He didn't understand. Who was she? Why didn't she run? But in that moment, something shifted. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It held promise. The girl didn't speak. Not when she tore the cloth. Not when she pressed it to his wound. Not when the blood soaked through and clung to her fingers like red paint. Her hands trembled, but her face stayed still, almost defiant. She looked like she'd cried hours ago. Not now. Now she was made of quiet steel. He watched her, through one swollen eye, barely open. She was too small for this world, too soft-boned for such sharp terrain. She couldn't have been from the Comanche camps, not dressed like that, not with skin so pale. She was white, but not clean, not safe. Something had hunted her too. That much was written in the way her shoulders curved inward, always braced. He tried to speak, just a groan. She flinched. A moment passed. Then she reached again, this time placing a dirty canteen to his cracked lips. Water touched his tongue like snow on fire. He drank until he coughed, chest twitching. The girl sat back, watched him, still silent, still watching. And something about her, the way she kept moving despite fear, pulled a string deep inside him. Years ago, another child, another winter. His own daughter, maybe 6 then, had brought him water too, after his ribs were broken in a raid. She had said nothing either, just sat, just stayed. That child was gone now. So were the others. So was the war they fought for. He blinked. The memory cut quick and vanished. Now this one, this stranger, was before him, with eyes that carried ghosts. Not his, but familiar enough. He looked away. Pain seared through his ribs when he tried to move. Maybe if he closed his eyes again, death would come easy. Or maybe the coyotes would take him before night. It would be easier, cleaner. But then he heard her shift. She had taken off her shawl completely and wrapped it over his chest like a blanket. She sat beside him now, legs pulled to her chest, head down, keeping watch. Over a man she didn't know. Over a man no one had come back for. He swallowed hard. If he let her walk away, maybe she'd survive. Maybe not. If he kept her here, she'd be in danger. So would he. But the world had already taken enough children, enough daughters. With what little strength he had, he touched her hand. Just barely. She looked up, and he gave the smallest nod. She was not alone anymore, and neither was he. By noon, the sun had bruised the sky into a faded gold. Heat pressed down. Cicadas cried in the trees. He had managed to sit upright barely with the help of a crooked stick and the girl's small, steady hands. Every breath came like swallowing knives. But he was alive, more alive than he wanted to admit. She still hadn't spoken, but she stayed. He watched her move. How she scanned the tree line before stepping into the brush. How she picked herbs with care. How she froze at distant sounds. She wasn't wild. She was hunted. He knew the signs. At dusk, he heard it. Low, metallic, wrong. A truck. Far off, but coming. She froze too. Then, without looking at him, she ran behind the trees, yanked leaves and dust, and smeared them on his wounds. Camouflage. Like she'd done this before. He grabbed her wrist. "Who's looking for you?" he rasped. She looked at him, a tremble in her throat, eyes not blinking. Then, in the quietest voice, like it hadn't been used in days, "2 men. One has a cross tattoo." Pause. "My father sold me. The other one bought me." Silence fell between them like a dropped knife. He didn't ask more. Didn't need to. The scars on her arms said enough. The way she flinched when touched. The way she never slept with her back exposed. It all made sense now. She had run, and they were coming to collect her. No law out here, no neighbors, just old roads and older sins. He felt his old fire burn low in his ribs. Anger he thought had died with his tribe, his family. But now it stirred again. This girl. They'd throw her back into hell, and maybe they'd kill him just for being nearby. He gritted his teeth, tried to stand. His leg buckled. She caught him. Barely. But she looked up at him. Not scared anymore. Like she believed he was still someone. "I'll lead them away," he said. She shook her head, hard. He looked past her. The road curved toward the South Canyon. Only one way in. They were close. The threat was real now, and both of them were marked. No more waiting. Time was a fuse. They stayed near the broken ridge for 2 days. The enemy hadn't found them yet, but the wind carried the scent of metal, of gas, of men who didn't wait for answers. The girl built a small fire inside a circle of stones. Her hands knew how to work in silence, fast, careful, methodical. She skinned the rabbit, roasted it without flinching. He watched her, not as a child, but as someone shaped by hard things. She offered him the first bite. He nodded once, not out of gratitude, but respect. That night, he sharpened a branch into a spear, then handed her a revolver, old, rusted, but it worked. She stared at it. He pointed to the trees, to a rusted can he had hung by its handle. She raised the gun with 2 hands, fired, missed. She tried again. This time the can spun. She didn't smile, but her chest rose differently, not with fear, with pride. The next morning, she limped, a bruise on her ankle. He tore his sleeve into a wrap and tied it around her foot, steady, like he had done with horses. She traced one of his scars as he worked, a jagged line across his ribs. He didn't pull away. "Bullet," he said simply. She pointed to the burn on her back. Didn't speak, didn't need to. They were both marked by men who believed in ownership. Later, she sat by the stream and hummed, a low, broken melody. It wasn't sweet. It was aching, like someone humming to keep themselves from vanishing. He sat beside her. Quiet. Then he reached into the dirt and dug a hole with his bare hands. From his pocket, he pulled out a piece of cloth, folded, worn. Inside it, a rusted hairpin. He buried it. She watched. He didn't explain, but she understood. It had once belonged to someone he loved, someone lost. They sat by that grave, neither moving. 2 survivors side by side. No blood between them. No words. Just breath and weight and the space where pain softened. When he stood, he placed his hand on her shoulder. She leaned into it, only for a second. But that second felt louder than 1,000 screams. It was just before dawn, the kind of blue that warns of violence. The fire had gone cold. Their breath hung in the air like ghosts. Then, a low crunch of gravel. Engine cut. Silence. He rose first, rifle in hand, leaning on the crooked stick. The girl followed, eyes sharp, hands trembling but ready. 2 men stepped into view. One wore a leather vest, shotgun across his back. The other had a cross tattoo on his throat, black ink, thick lines, bleeding into sunburnt skin. The girl took 1 step back. Crossthroat smiled. "There you are," he said softly, like talking to a stray dog. "You cost me money, kid." The leader stepped forward, body still failing, but will unshaken. "She stays." The other man cocked his shotgun. "You want to die over a stolen girl?" "She wasn't stolen," the Comanche said. "She escaped." Crossthroat laughed. "From her father? You think the law cares?" "No law out here, just dirt and force." The girl raised the revolver with both hands. Crossthroat saw it, didn't flinch. "You think I won't shoot a kid?" he whispered. "No," the leader said. "She thinks I will." He fired first. The bullet hit leather vest in the thigh, dropped him like dead weight. The girl flinched but held her ground. Crossthroat lunged forward. The old man stepped in his path, body a shield, gun raised again, but the pain in his side made his shot slow. A punch, hard, cracked his jaw. Then another. The girl screamed, her voice like ripping. "Cloth." Crossthroat grabbed her arm. "Try running again," he hissed, dragging her. Then she bit him, deep, hard, until blood poured. He roared. And that's when the twist hit. A second figure emerged from the woods. A woman, grey coat, badge. "Drop her," she barked. Her rifle was already raised. Federal. The girl's mother. She had followed quietly, weeks behind, not to take her back, but to take her away for good. Crossthroat froze. The Comanche leader, bleeding, stumbled to his knees. 1 shot cracked. Not from her. From the girl. She had pulled the trigger. The bullet grazed the man's cheek, enough to stop him cold. He dropped the girl, ran, disappeared into trees. No one followed. No one spoke. The woman rushed forward, trembling. The girl stared at her, then ran, not into her arms, but to the old man. She knelt by him, touched his cheek. He smiled, barely. He had chosen right, even if it cost him everything. Smoke hung in the air like regret, not from fire, from the breath of near death. The girl sat beside the Comanche leader, hands bloodied, heart beating like a snare drum. His breathing was shallow, rattling, his chest moved like a dying tide, still there, but retreating. The woman, the girl's mother, stood a few steps back, rifle slung down now, no badge visible. She didn't speak, didn't know if she had the right to. The wounded man opened his eye. "She yours?" he whispered. The woman nodded. "She ran from me too, before she ran from him." No judgment, just fact, just wait. He looked at the girl. She wasn't crying, but her hands clung to his shirt like roots to dry soil. Behind them, cross-throat's blood painted the bark of a tree. Not dead, but broken. He had crawled off into the woods like a snake with snapped fangs. No one chased him. The wind rose, branches swayed above, groaning. The woman stepped closer, crouched. "I cook, and take her far from here. New name, new place, no men like him." The girl didn't answer. She turned to the man beside her. He met her gaze, held it. "No more running," he said, then closed his eye. Again. The girl stood, picked up his rifle, slid it across her back. Then, with her small fingers, she helped him up, inch by inch, until he leaned fully on her side. He groaned, but didn't resist. The woman didn't stop them. She just watched. They walked slowly, painfully, toward the horizon. No road, just dust, just breath, just bond. Behind them, the forest swallowed the scene, the blood, the broken badge, the ghosts, and ahead, a path only they would make. No promises, no victory, just movement. As they passed the ridge, the girl looked back once. No tears, just a goodbye that didn't need sound. Seasons turned like pages no one read aloud. Snow came and melted. Leaves fell and returned. The land forgot the blood, but they did not. The girl and the man built a small life on the outskirts of a dying town, a cabin left behind by someone who never came back. No sign, no name, just space. They never gave theirs either. She grew into silence, not fear. He taught her how to trap, how to track, how to mend wounds. She taught him how to sit still and watch the wind. At night, she boiled stew and stared at the fire. He carved wood into shapes. Never people, just birds, always flying. He never fully healed, but he lived longer than anyone expected, and softer than anyone believed he could. One day, he didn't wake. She buried him behind the cabin, beneath a tree that bloomed only in spring. No marker, just his rifle leaning against the trunk like it was still guarding something. She didn't cry that day, but she stayed beside the grave until stars came. Then, from her pocket, she pulled something wrapped in cloth, the same rusted hairpin he had once buried in the earth. She placed it at the base of the tree, didn't speak, didn't pray, just sat there, long enough for the moon to rise. Years passed. She never left that land, but others came. Lost ones, small ones, girls who had no names, no homes, no safety. She took them in, fed them, taught them how to hold a rifle, how to build a fire, how to sleep without fear. They called her the quiet woman with the sharp eyes. But at night, when no one watched, she'd sit by that grave, run her fingers along the carved bird in her pocket, and whisper the only name that ever mattered to her. And sometimes, when the wind moved through the trees just right, it sounded like a man breathing one last time, not from pain, but peace. He died, forgotten by the world, but remembered by the one soul he taught how to live.